Hi guys, Steve Elliott here again. Hope you're having a great day. This is a quick sketch stroke doodle that I did in Tayasui Sketches. I was using brush and ink and a watercolour wash. I'm going to show you how I did this. So let's get into it. So here we are in Sketches, creating a new drawing. And I am going to go in with a pencil tool first, because when I'm doing pen and ink, I generally start off with a light sketch just to make sure that everything's in the right place. Now, I guess doing it digitally, I could use the pen and ink for this part of the drawing, but I don't. I use the pencil because that's how I would do it traditionally, and that's kind of I feel like I should still be doing it here, and it just feels right. It feels natural for me to sort of get that sketching first. So again, this is one of the kind of techniques where I would do a drawing first to make sure I've got everything in the right place. It's not like when I'm doing an oil painting or a digital painting where I, just go straight in with the paint and sort of create the shapes with the paint. I like to make sure everything, I don't put in all the detail or anything, but I just get in the main guidelines before I start with the ink. And I've got lots of drawings. In fact, I've got about 30 pen and ink drawings that I did for Inktober, not last year, the year before. So if you want to check out some videos of me doing some real pen and ink with brushes and all sorts of different pens, I'll put a link in the description so you can check those out. But this is my digital version of doing exactly the same thing, really. So what struck me with this photo, which comes from Pixabay, of course, is the fact that the owl and the tree that it's perched in are very similar. They've got sort of similar look to them, similar colours and texture and everything. So I thought that would be quite a nice thing to do, where I'm sort of copying or using the same types of brush strokes for the owl as I use for the tree as well. So you can see I'm sort of getting these pencil lines in and tweaking them a little bit all the time with the eraser, just adjusting them, and then I'm in with the ink. Now I make a bit of a mistake. I've got the right colour, but I wanted the opacity solid black. I don't want any greys. I just want really black ink going on there. So this is the brush tool, and I like this. I always get in a big chunk of solid black. I look for the shadows and paint them in first, and I really like this brush because you can, just by pressing it lightly, you can get these very thin lines, and then you can get these really thick blocks of colour. So all of this drawing that I'm doing now has all been done with that brush pen, and it's all done at the same set at the same thickness, and I'm just adjusting the thickness of the pen with the pressure that I'm applying to the screen. So as you can see, I'm sort of working away around the owl at the minute and getting in darks and sort of making sure that I've got the correct shape of the owl, and just sort of putting in the bark of the tree, and I'm just following the lines of the bark, varying the thickness of the pen, sort of putting pressure on, then lifting it off halfway through the line, so that you get these very organic looking lines being drawn. And then I'm just sort of, I'm kind of doodling, because the lines are just sort of going all over the place, and I'm not really paying a massive amount of attention to the actual photo. I'm just thinking where the shapes are and then just sort of scribbling them in. And you can see these lines are almost scribbled that I'm putting in on the owl now. I did find the Tayasui likes to sort of put these blobs on, just drop random blobs of ink and things, and I did find them a little bit annoying with this drawing. I didn't want them. Sometimes they look really cool and work really well. Now you'll notice there that I sort of put a block of ink on. I'm going to do it this side as well, and then I use the eraser to put in some white lines. Now I use the eraser instead of changing the colour to white, because if you use a white, it actually shows up on the paper, because the paper that Tayasui displays for you to draw on, the textured paper, isn't white. It's a creamy colour. So if you put the white ink on there, that shows through. Whereas if you use the eraser, you keep that nice look of the white. So, I mean, that isn't something you could do if you was sketching on real paper. But I would use a white ink pen to do. I do that a lot. I'll sort of do the black drawing and then go over it with the white ink. But digitally, you've got the advantage of being able to use the eraser to get that effect, and I think it's way better. Plus, if you wanted to export this as a transparent PNG to print on a t-shirt or something like that, it would work fine. But if you use the white ink to do that, it's not going to work at all. You're going to get all the white ink printed onto the shirt. So even if you've got a white shirt, it would look a bit cruddy, really. It wouldn't look too cool. So that's why I'm using the eraser. And I'm kind of going in with a lot of detail on the face. And when I mean a lot of detail, I mean a lot of lines, really. And although it looks okay, later on, I decide that the drawing's going to take a different feel, because initially what my plan was, I thought that I was going to do a really detailed drawing with lots and lots of hatching and loads of lines. But when I got onto the body, I started to sort of just let the brush wander and find its own way. And I seemed to get these really nice strokes that looked like the feathers, that was really very simple and not a lot of detail in them. So although I've got a lot of detail in the face at the minute, you will see now that the style of the drawing starts to change. So I'm just sort of scribbling in these lines with the brush, and I'm really liking what's happening. This sort of light against the dark. I just thought I'd tidy up the eyes a little bit. There was annoying me somewhat. And then I go in at the side, putting in feathers on the side as well. And I could have gone in and drawn a lot of detail, but I'm thinking I'm liking this. This is looking all right. It's some of the lines are very abstract. I keep picking the heel of my hand keeps touching the tools palette, and then it keeps picking up the watercolour brush when I don't want it to. So eventually I decide to turn the tools off so I can't see them, because they were beginning to annoy me somewhat. So you see now how these lines are quite thick and very loosely drawn, and the same with the shading. I haven't got the amount of lines on there that I've got on the face, so it's kind of looking like a different drawing at this stage. But I'm preferring this kind of scribbled look at the bottom. So you can see what I'm doing here. I get the eraser and then I start lifting out lots of these lines in the face, because I want it to look more like the body, so it's looking like part of the same drawing. So you can only do that because it's digital. If this had been a real drawing, I would have been stuffed and I would have had to carry on and make it a detailed drawing, I guess. or I could have gone over it white because I wouldn't have, you know, I wouldn't have wanted to create a transparent PNG, so that wouldn't have been an issue. I could have just used the white ink. So I'm continuing drawing the body, and I still think the face looks a little bit too detailed, so I erase a little bit more and put a few looser lines in, and then I start adding a little bit of shadow, a bit more shadow in there, a little bit of hatching. There we go, just to give the body a little bit of form, and then I start hatching the actual trunk of the bark on the tree. Just putting a very few scribbly lines in, really. You can see I just let the brush sort of wander away on its own. Just by putting in a little bit of hatching, it kind of gives you the impression that that's a little bit more in the shade. And then I do that squiggly line to lead your eye into the painting. Just some really rough hatching. So I'm really liking this, and this is at this stage, obviously, it's just the brush and ink. I sign it, and then I think, let's get a bit of colour on it. I fancy just putting a light wash on. So first of all, I choose a sepia colour, I guess. I put the layer below the ink layer. I've turned off the pencil layer now, and then I just add a little bit of sepia colour to the drawing, and then I thought it'd be nice to add a bit of teal as well, because that colour combination is quite popular at the minute. So I just go in. I don't know if I overdid it with the teal. I don't think so. I think it's all right. Just adds that little bit of variety and bit of colour. Maybe a little bit intense on under the beak, perhaps. I don't know. But we're coming to the end of the sketch. Again, I'm torn whether I like the black and white version or the colour. Looking at it again, I'm very much into the black and white version. But there we go. That's my pen and ink and wash sketch in Tayasui Sketches. I hope you like this video. If you have, a big thumbs up helps me out a lot. It's much appreciated. And if you're new to the channel and you've liked this video, please consider subscribing, because I have lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.